The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, everyone. My name is Catherine Castleman. I'm a project coordinator with the Food Day campaign, and we're very excited to have you on our call today for Food Day 2012 in schools. We're really excited that so many of you registered for the call. We had about 360 registrants today, so thank you for joining and for getting the word out. I'll just give a brief overview of the webinar system here for those of you who are new to GoToMeeting. If you want to type in a question or a comment at any point, you can do that in the chat box on your dashboard there that you'll see on your screen. And we might have some time at the end for Q&A and discussion, at which point you can also press the raise hand button, the little hand icon on your dashboard, to be unmuted. So for the duration of the call, unless you press that raise hand button to be unmuted, you will be muted on this call. So again, type any question to us. We'll try to get back to you, or we can read out comments that you type in as well. Quickly running through our agenda here, we'll hear from Lilia Smolkova, who's our campaign manager at Food Day, and then we'll hear from Chelsea Simpson at the National Farm to School Network, Katie Bishop from our Nutrition Policy Department here at Center for Science in the Public Interest, and finally Rose Judd Murray from the National Gardening Association. So thanks to all of our panelists for joining today. And now I'll hand it over to Lilia to run us through our updated guide for schools.
Well, thank you, Catherine, and thanks to everyone who has joined this webinar. And we are excited to present the new guide for organizers in schools, and also to have wonderful people on the panel who will share the tips of how Food Day can get engaged with a bigger picture of what is happening in the school world related to food, and also how our organizers can collaborate and connect with their groups. So here you see the cover page of the guide for school organizers, and Food Day got an award from the Parenting Magazine last year, the Greenie Award, and they announced that Food Day was their favorite family holiday, so we decided we would share it with everyone on the cover page. And we kept the guide very simple, sharing what was happening around the country in schools on Food Day last year, and also what can be done, how Food Day can be celebrated in the cafeteria, in the classroom, and also in the school gardens, by healthcare centers, and more. So many school districts around the country got involved. We had special meals served by Boston schools, Denver, Portland, Boulder County. Many used the school Food Day curriculum, and I'll talk about it a little bit later. We had numerous school gardens participating, and just parents coming to schools, organizing activities with kids. So here you see a couple of pictures, and their Food Day in schools had, as I said, hundreds of activities. And one of the examples we usually use is the Hall of Shame in Bentonville, Arkansas, and I'll zoom a little bit to show this example. So the students at 9 public schools created Junk Food Hall of Shame, and the prize was a healthy meal prepared by a professional chef. In Anchorage in Alaska, Rabbit Creek Elementary kids voted the locally grown carrots to out-of-state carrots 2-to-1 margin in a blind tasting. And students organized events in Northern Carolina, in Portland, and in many other places. So this year, Food Day partners with the Presidential Active Lifestyle Award, and we are connected with the campaign that was launched by the President's Council on Sports and Nutrition to Support First Lady Michelle Obama Let's Move Challenge, and we encourage, as a part of Food Day, to take this challenge that lasts for 6 to 8 weeks, either before or after Food Day. And something I want to focus a little bit more is the school curriculum. School curriculum was written last year by professors at Columbia Teachers College. It consists of 5 very simple lessons. And here you have an enthusiastic quote from one of the nutrition educators who was using it with her elementary school kids in Wisconsin. And the school curriculum was a way for us to get into schools and to come offering some lessons and exercises. And they can be used either together for a week-long of activities or also separately at a school fair or at a fundraising event just as exercises to teach students and children about empty calories, about eating whole food, and about also some advocacy like mapping the area and seeing whether they have access to supermarkets and to fresh produce. And so going very quickly through the rest of the guide, there are some examples of Food Day in the cafeteria, how nutrition services directors can celebrate Food Day, and they did in many cases last year. Later on, we'll hear from National Farm to School Network and how National Farm to School Month in October and Food Day on October 24th can be connected in maybe even like 1 month of celebration. We have a lot of tips on how to help implement the Healthy School Meal Standards that will start this fall. And our colleagues here at CSPI work a lot to make it happen. So we'll hear later on today about how we can use Food Day to encourage students to eat healthy school food, and what are the ways to increase their lunch participation, what technical assistance and training can be provided, and also what types of wellness policies can be developed in schools. And I encourage you to use Food Day either as a launching point for a new project in schools, or like as a moment to pledge and then start working during the school year after October. Well, here are some pictures about Food Day in the school garden, and we have also a map on foodday.org. Our new website will go live next week, where everyone can register all events, whether public or private, and add to this big picture of what will be happening on and around Food Day around the country. And before I pass it over to other presenters, I'd like to mention a couple of national groups who are helping us and supporting us on the national level and making Food Day happen. Like one is National Education Association, Health Information Network, National Farm to School Network, National Assembly of School-Based Healthcare Centers. We had a webinar with them earlier on this year, and Teachers College presented the curriculum. So we'll be sending after this webinar the link to the recorded presentation of the Food Day curriculum with its creators and with the nutrition educator who was using it last year. And today, the National PTA joined their partners list of Food Day. And if you are working with local and state PTAs, or if you are interested to, please get in touch with us on foodday@cspinet.org to talk about your involvement and how we could collaborate and work together. So that's it for now about the school guide. You can download it. It's not now, maybe in half an hour, or definitely by the end of this webinar, from foodday.org. And it will be also on the new website next week, along with other resources like brochures, cards, and other guides for Food Day organizers. And I'll be on the call, so if you have any questions, just type them in or raise a hand, and I'll be happy to speak more about how Food Day can be celebrated in schools and by schools.
Thanks, Lilia. And yeah, just an update on that. This is Catherine again. The Food Day curriculum, the Food Day guide for schools is now on the homepage at foodday.org. So feel free to check that out and download a copy. And now we'll move on to Chelsea Simpson from National Farm to School Network. Chelsea, you might be muted if you're speaking now. You might want to try unmuting your computer.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yep,
there we go.
Go ahead.
Sorry about that. Thanks for having me today. I'm happy to be here to speak a little bit about Farm to School and National Farm to School Month. We're really excited that Farm to School Month coincides with Food Day because it's a great sort of cross-promotion and a great way to celebrate several things that we believe in at the same time. And I think that many of you probably feel the same way. So I just want to start by talking just a little bit about what Farm to School is and what we mean when we say Farm to School. I'm with the National Farm to School Network. We are an organization that helps facilitate Farm to School across the country. We provide resources, and we have a network of 50 state leads. There's Farm to School happening in every state, and we have 8 regional leads, and I'll show you a map of where those folks are in just a moment. But we don't run Farm to School. Farm to School programs have been started all over the country and different schools and districts in their own way, and we just try to provide resources as we can and help to organize the movement. Farm to School is broadly defined as any program that connects schools, and when we say schools, we're talking about pre-K through 12th grade generally. It's any program that connects schools with local farms for the objective of serving healthy meals in school cafeterias, improving nutrition, providing agriculture, health, and nutrition education opportunities, and supporting local and regional farmers. Sorry, my slides aren't advancing. There we go. At their best, Farm to School programs enable schools to feature healthy, locally sourced products in their cafeterias, whether that's farm fresh salad bars, hot entrees, even meat and dairy items, or sometimes the snacks in the classroom. Products can be fruits, vegetables, a number of different items, but Farm to School also goes beyond the actual food that's being served. Activities in the cafeteria are supplemented by hands-on education, using local foods as a medium to meet state curriculum standards. School gardens and farm field trips are an important part of many Farm to School programs. Research shows that nutrition education and gardening can modify children's knowledge, attitudes, and behaviors towards healthy eating. So we really find that both things work well hand in hand. Children are more likely to try new fruits and vegetables when they're offered if they have helped to grow them or perhaps had a farm visit or a visit from the farmer in their classroom. So I want to talk a little bit about Farm to School Month itself, and in just a second I'm going to close the slide and show you our new website. We have several things that we've developed that we hope will help you celebrate. Actually, let's go there now. So this is farmtoschoolmonth.org, and we just launched this about a week ago. We had a different site last year. National Farm to School Month was celebrated for the first time last year, so this is only our second year. In 2010, Congress approved a resolution to officially designate October as National Farm to School Month. It was House Resolution 1655 for anyone keeping track. And we were extremely excited, and we were excited this year to get to expand a little bit on the resources that we were able to offer. So we're doing a couple things this year that we'd love for any of you to be able to connect with us on. A lot of the things we've designed, of course, with the whole month in mind, but some things can be specifically tied in really well with Food Day if you only have one day that you're going to focus on celebrating. So I'll just tell you some of the things here. In our sidebar, our big initiative we're working on this year is Stand Up and Be Counted. It's the Farm to School Counts is what we're calling it. And we're asking schools to take a pledge and tell us how many farm to school activities they plan to do during the month of October, or how many dollars worth of local food they plan to serve. And what we're trying to do here is just gather some numbers that we can use to create really positive press around Farm to School and to help people brag about their own programs. So we have these easy to fill out forms here that ask you some basic information. We try to leave it really open-ended because we know Farm to School programs are very diverse. So for example, we have one form that talks about if you're sourcing local food in your cafeteria, and another one that talks about activities. So no matter what you're doing in the realm of Farm to School, hopefully this form will capture it. At the end of the month, we're going to send everyone who pledged to participate during October a follow-up email, and we're going to ask you to come back and say how many activities and how much local food you actually served. And everyone that answers that second survey question, fills out the form a second time, is going to be entered in a drawing for a cash prize for their program. So we're really excited about that. And there's more information and details here. Another thing that we're doing that we think will tie in really well with Food Day is that we're trying to develop theme of the day themes for each weekday of October, and we are looking for organizations to partner with. Hopefully on Food Day, we haven't lined out our calendar yet, but hopefully Food Day will be the theme of Food Day. And then we'll be able to offer some more information about Food Day here on our website. That's what we would love to do. So every day of the month in October, this of course will be a calendar for October, and you'll be able to click on the day, have some suggested activities that you can do in your classroom or maybe at home, and some suggested communications too if you want to interact with us about that day's theme on Facebook or Twitter. We also have some other resources that we hope you could make use of. We have some Farm to School Month logos that you're free to use to promote any Farm to School activities during October. We also have a fact sheet, which I'll show you here. I have it open. This is a great thing you could use to send home with parents or in your community to educate a little bit more about Farm to School Month if you're doing that in connection with Food Day. It just says a little bit about what Farm to School is, how Farm to School Month came to be, and then we've got these great ideas here on the back for how you can celebrate Farm to School, whether you're a teacher, food service professional, farmer, or family. So we have a number of suggested activities there. So that's a great fact sheet that's downloadable here on our website. We also have a PowerPoint template, which is very similar to the one I'm using today, if you have the chance to give a presentation about Farm to School Month. And we have sample menus you can use to create your own menu for your cafeteria. We have these great posters, which you can download as PDFs and have printed, or you can order from our merchandise. We also have some things that, just to make it easier to disseminate, we have them in a couple of online shops, Cafe Press and Printfection. There's also stickers in the Printfection shop that say, I tried something local today, and I tried something new. So that's a great thing that we hope people will be able to give out to kids. And last but not least, we really hope that if you plan a Food Day event that involves Farm to School or any Farm to School event during the month, that you'll visit this website and enter it here. Actually, here's where you're entering. That we're hoping to have a catalog of all the events taking place to celebrate Farm to School Month, and they will eventually populate this map once we have a few entered, and people will be able to look at this and see what's happening, much like with the Food Day website. If you're planning an event and you need additional Farm to School Month resources or Farm to School resources in general, this is the National Farm to School Network's website. It's farmtoschool.org. And I just wanted to make sure everyone's aware of our network that I talked about earlier. This state map is clickable. Just click on Oklahoma here, because that's where I'm from. And every state has a state lead. So in Oklahoma, it's Chris Kirby, and this is her contact information. In Oklahoma, she works at the Department of Ag, and she's our point person. We work with her directly. So if you're looking for information specific to your state, we always direct people to our state leads. They're really the go-to. If you're looking for something more region-wide, these are our regional areas, and these are our regional lead agencies and their contact information. So that's really a great network and resource. So that's the end of my presentation, but I look forward to having questions from any of you. And I'll just put my slide back up here. If anybody has questions that don't get answered on the webinar, you can feel free to email me later. Thanks.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Chelsea. And we'll share your website links and possibly your slides as well in the follow-up email to this call, so people can find that information again easily. Now we're going to move on to Katie Bishop with Center for Science and the Public Interest in the Nutrition Policy Department. So Katie, go ahead.
Okay, just a second. Okay, so in the Nutrition Policy Department, one of the things we're working on right now is implementation of school meals. And one of the things we're creating is a policy document for state and local organizations to pursue. That document, we're in the final stages of developing it right now. It should be available soon. some of the suggestions I'm going to talk about in a few minutes, but if you are interested in the full document, you can feel free to email me. So one of the suggestions we have for Food Day is that you could urge your state child nutrition program to create an implementation plan for the new school meal standards. And then on Food Day, you could announce that they're going to be creating the plan. You could also urge your child nutrition program to make a pledge that a certain percentage of schools will be compliant with the new meal standards by the end of the school year, and announce that pledge with officials from your state agency on Food Day. Some other things that you could do would be to encourage students to eat the healthy new school meals. So you could encourage teachers to eat school lunch with the students on Food Day and talk supportively about the new healthier meals. You could send information home to parents about the new lunch standards and invite them to eat lunch at school on Food Day. You could implement a policy that recess be held before lunch and unveil that on Food Day. It's been shown that students are more likely to take their time eating lunch, so they're more likely to eat the healthy options if recess is held before lunch. You could also hold taste tests on Food Day with new fruits and vegetables and whole grains so the students can get used to them and excited about them. You could also have votes about new menu options and announce the results of those votes on Food Day. Or a couple of other options would be that you could create an implementation plan for your school wellness policy, and then on Food Day you could unveil the plan, really highlighting the aspects of your wellness policy, or you could announce that you've put together a committee that's going to be developing an implementation plan. You could also appoint a wellness policy coordinator in each school in your district, and that person will serve as a liaison with the district and coordinate implementation of your school wellness policy. So you could announce all of the coordinators on Food Day. So those are just a few of the policy options that we have in that document we're coming out with that you could use on Food Day. And if you do want to see the full document when it's complete, just send me an email and I can send that out to you.
Katie, we had one question. Lindley Wells was asking if you could explain a little bit more about what you mean by a school wellness policy.
Okay. In 2004, all schools were required to create a wellness policy that's supposed to look at the food and physical activity environment in schools. So even though schools have this policy, in a lot of cases it's not really implemented. So they might say that they're going to have certain types of healthy foods or not allow vending machine foods to be served during the school day, but then if the policy isn't implemented, then the vending machines are still on during the school day. So basically, schools are all supposed to have this policy, but it's not really being implemented right now in a lot of places.
And are there any models of wellness policies that you can recommend for people to take a look at?
Yes, we actually have a model wellness policy from CSPI. So if people just want to email me, then I could send that out to them.
We have a couple more questions for you, Katie, if you're willing to answer them. Someone wrote in that she's an activity coordinator for KPHA. And maybe we'll have to get you to explain more what that is, but what would be her role in school wellness policy? Kentucky Public Health Association, okay. So for those involved in the public health associations, how could they get involved with school wellness policies?
Okay, she could work towards, well, we do have some more options in our policy document that would focus specifically on what she could do at more of the state level with wellness policies. Some of them would be working with her state agency to either require schools to have an implementation plan for their wellness policy or have a strong suggestion that they have an implementation plan. We have other ones that aren't right in front of me now, but I can definitely email that out to her and to any others that are interested.
Okay, yeah, and just for everyone to know, we will send out the emails for our panelists today and the follow-up to all of those who registered for the call. So you'll get Katie's email, which is kbishop@cspinet.org, as well as Chelsea's email and Rose's, in case you have questions for them directly. And also Monica Smith wrote in that Action for Healthy Kids, their website has a wellness policy tool. So thank you for sharing that. That's helpful. And also Allison Cruz wrote that ecoliteracy.org has resources on wellness policies as well, and we can share that link with everyone. Okay, so at this point, let's move on to Rose Judd-Murray from National Gardening Association. Rose, we'll switch over to your screen here.
Is everybody there?
Yes, go ahead.
Can you see it okay? All right, I'm excited to have just a minute today. The National Gardening Association has been around since the 80s, and most of you will be familiar with this part of our website where we do everything from home and community gardening to answering about weeds and question and answers. But if you're not familiar with our kids gardening site, this is actually the place where you can get a lot of information related to what would be relevant for Food Day, and especially specifically in the classroom. Our kidsgardening.org website is dedicated directly to school gardening and home and family gardening and projects that are centered upon students who would be from pre-K all the way to, for the better part, 12th grade. I do have some professors at universities who are able to utilize some of our activities and resources specifically with that, with much older students, but we do range from kindergarten to 12th grade for the most part. I figure there's two groups of you out there, those of you who don't have a garden but would like to get one to use in conjunction with Food Day or other activities that would be relevant to a school wellness program, as was just related to just a moment ago, or those of you who already have one and you want to better utilize that garden to incorporate these types of activities. I want to just let you know about a few of the resources that we have on here that may be relevant to help you secure a better support network related to grants and fundraising for your school programs. Here on our grants and fundraising link, we have a variety of awards. Last year, over the course of the year, we give away several and administer quite a few grant programs to date. Since we've been working in the grant and fundraising area, we've given away about and been able to administer about $3.9 million in grants and fundraising, and so it is something that we feel very strongly about, and that is a huge part of our mission, is to make sure that school gardens, ultimately we would like to see a garden in every school. So this is where we spend a huge amount of our time. I want to direct, some of you have said, well, how do I get it going? How do I make it work? In our, here in our About School Gardening, you can download directly some slides to help your administrators and those whom you are seeking funding and grants from to give them a better idea of why a school garden is so beneficial. And I've kind of pulled these up just a little bit so you can see. When we begin to talk about school gardening and why it's valuable, you can see that as we've taken a look at those who are 9,000 grant winners, we've done a lot of surveys and statistics with them. You can see that those who participate in school gardens really enjoy it. The students enjoy being a part of it. There are 3 categories as educators that we look at that relate directly to the benefits of school gardening, and those are benefits related to cognitive responses, physical benefits, as many of these food day activities, the junk food wall of shame, for instance, would directly be related to the physical and health benefits related to school gardening, and those related to emotional and socio-emotional issues for students and participants. And those benefits related to health and physical responses, the greatest response that we see is that students are more willing to eat fruits and vegetables that have been grown in a garden where they have had direct participation. And that's probably the biggest benefit from a physical and health standpoint that we've been able to measure over time. So just a few of these things to think about: improvements in student development, environmental attitudes, again, nutritional attitudes. 93% of our participants who have been participated in a school garden program who have received a grant or a grant award from National Gardening Association, we've seen a 93% improvement in their nutritional attitudes. And I think that relates down here in a few of these as well, in their leadership skills, school attitudes. I think so many of these things are connected, and that's why we feel like Food Day is such a great program. The curriculum is directly related to things that we advocate on our Kids Gardening website, and the curriculum that we write, it's very similar. Programs implementing youth gardens, you can see a lot of them are in-school programs. And some people say, well, how do we do that? Does it have to be a big plot outside? Does it have to be something that is a huge program? And we try to let you know that there are many different types of gardens and garden programs that you can do depending upon what your resources are and what your funding potential is. It doesn't have to be the traditional, tilled into the ground kind of a garden. These can be indoor gardens with grow lights. Even windowsill gardens can be a fantastic place to even get kids growing. I've had some programs where they've done potatoes in 5-gallon buckets, and it's been quite successful. Here are some other examples. Raised beds are very common and very successful for a number of reasons. Everything from you can put them directly on concrete all the way to it can be something that's easily accessible by very, very small people or those who have physical disabilities. They can be made wheelchair accessible, as well as they can be raised up for students who can't bend over in a variety of ways. So even with containers, you don't necessarily need to have a huge amount of funding. Old pots, tires, wheelbarrows. I've personally seen old bathtubs that have been converted into school gardens. So a variety of ways that this can be done, and we want to let you know that grants and funding are available for all types of gardens. You don't need to have an amazing project. We at National Gardening Association, we have funded programs that had 2 or 3 raised beds, or they were simply a windowsill type garden where they had a few grow lights and they had seed starting activities. And so don't be discouraged if you are interested in increasing your program. Make sure that you gather the support necessary. The foundation of a school garden isn't necessarily in how it's constructed, but in the commitment of the people that are involved. And generally the first step that we recommend is to go to the principal, to go to your administrators and get them on board, hopefully by using some of these resources that are available that can do that. Again, these little graphs and charts, these are available for free download so that you too can share our statistics, basically, the things that we know that we have collected over the years of being involved with school gardens. Content taught, this is also a great way. One of the cognitive benefits of a school garden would be that students who use hands-on interactive scientific inquiry or instructional units that also are used in conjunction with the school garden. We see that students are able to retain and recall that information at a much higher level. And again, that comes back directly to their state standardized and national testing, where that information would be important. So we see a lot of benefits, and these slides are meant for you to be able to share that message with your administrators. As you'll see here, money is often the biggest obstacle facing a garden program, and in 2011 we received over 10,000 applications for 346 available awards. So even though we've been doing this a long time, we still struggle to find the amount of money for those of you who want to apply for these grants and obtain the right funding. I know that that tells us that we still have a great work to do, and we work really hard to secure those funders on an annual basis, and are on a constant search for new funders so that we can make it easier for you to bring these types of programs to your communities. I'm probably way out of time. I get talking and then I can't get stopped, but let me bring up our Kids Gardening website. When you come to Kids Gardening, you'll find a plethora of resources under School Gardening. We have printable, downloadable lesson plans. If you're not familiar with our Kids Garden newsletter, in fact, if you register today, you will receive a brand new issue tomorrow. We are just putting the final touches on it right now, so it will go out tomorrow. It goes out to about 185,000 educators, volunteers, those who are interested in making School Garden meaningful. Every month it comes with at least one new lesson plan that is downloadable, and it's in a printable format in a template so that it's easy for you to use right in your classroom. We make those very curriculum specific so that they are easy for teachers to use. We also have, for those of you who might just be parent or PTA volunteers, we also have great activities in the family gardening section. A lot of how-to step-by-step instruction sheets that not only can be used in the home, but that can be taken from anything from a Boys and Girls Club, after-school programs, all the way into the classroom. So we encourage you to utilize this website. And as always, if there's something specific that you're looking for, we hope that you'll contact us directly or check out our Kids Gardening shop so that we can help you get and stay on the right foot with incorporating a school garden and using Food Day as a great tool. We have just been so pleased with the curriculum that's been written and the way that Food Day has been shared. We think that's a great resource, and we hope to just be a continuing partner in this great project.
Thank you so much, Rose. We have a couple questions for you. One of them, the first one, was suggestions on how to find people to maintain an outdoor garden when school is out for the summer. Do you have any ideas about that?
Yeah, I think that all comes back to building a support network from the beginning. I can't say enough about that. Over and over again, we see the difference between a school garden that can only be maintained for a couple of years and those that are maintained, you know, for very long periods of time. We see that coming back to starting very small, trying to utilize not just teachers at the school, but getting parents involved. For summer maintenance, I personally think one of the best resources out there is to get the Boy Scouts involved. The Boy Scouts of America are often looking for summer projects, or even scouts who are trying to complete Eagle projects are often looking for projects of 40, 50, 60 hours, and that can be a great way to maintain those summer garden programs, making sure that it doesn't just fall, that the tasks don't just fall on one or two really loyal volunteers. Volunteers, no matter how good they are, if too much responsibility is placed on them, they get burned out very quickly. So be careful about spreading those jobs out, asking for help within the master gardeners through your local and county extension agents. They are a fantastic resource. I would also look for volunteers who are willing to work at your local food bank. A lot of times by just simply sharing the harvest, so to speak, in those summer months. You'll be able to glean some of their best volunteers who are willing to take the produce, not only work in the garden, but then take the produce directly to the food bank because they believe in what happens there and taking that fresh produce. So just a few ways. I will mention that we have an online course called School Gardening 101 that covers many of these topics, specifically the benefits of gardening and how to share those benefits, how to gain and gather that support, and we give you very specific instruction. We give a lot of instruction on how to develop a theme for your garden and what types of gardens might work in your location, and also we have a specific, the final module of School 101 delves specifically in great curriculum and what curriculum can be used and how to use curriculum properly in conjunction with the school garden. And that's available through, you can register for that course through Kids Gardening by looking for School Gardening 101 or through our partnership with the National Teacher Institute. And I can leave that website and that link directly after this webinar. We can make sure that that gets up so that everybody, if you're interested in learning very specific skills, that online course, it's quite affordable and it is pretty flexible. So that might be an option for those of you who'd like to learn more in a very specific way.
Thanks, Rose. And Holly O'Neill asks, we're finding that the biggest cost is the salary for garden educators. So do you have any sources or strategies you can recommend for funding long-term?
It's always a challenge. I think, I know that a lot of grants are short-term, and they're going to be an annual award, and if you want it again the second year, you have to reapply, and it can be a gamble to try to get those awards every year. I will say really quickly before I answer this question a little bit better, but never be deterred. If you're awarded a grant through Kids Gardening or through garden.org, don't be deterred. Make sure, a lot of people think if they've won once that they're out, that we wouldn't consider them again. That's never the case. Everyone who applies has equal footing, whether you've won an award or several awards year after year. It simply depends on make sure you fill out that application correctly. A lot of people fail to put an email address or contact information. I think many of you would be shocked. Upwards of nearly 30 to 40% of the applications we get are simply missing information on their grant applications. So make sure that when you send them in that you've signed your name, you've filled out every one of the areas, so that's really important. In terms of long-term, I think the go-to has to be local. It really needs to be, whether it's your local businesses or your local partnerships that you look to, that it becomes an annual, something that they contribute to annually. And a lot of that comes back to making them feel like it's worth their time, their money, their effort. So thanking them, making sure that they feel like they are involved is a huge part of that. I know money is always the issue, but it can be done. I also think by having your principal and your administrators on board and not just supportive in word, but in deed. And principals do have access to specific pots of money. And I know that that can come and go, but hopefully that can be something that you can tap into, that by them seeing that there are cognitive, physical, and socio-emotional benefits to your garden, that's just something that you can tap into. I don't think there is a silver bullet. I think you have to be creative, and that becomes something that you work together with your garden team. I know that coordinators can get expensive. I think they're worth it. But I do think that has to be a partnership and something you work together to simply get creative year after year. Sorry, I wish I had an easy answer. I always feel bad saying there aren't any easy answers, but I do think a lot of it needs to come down to your local funding. I think grants can be a really tough way to pay for coordinators. I think you have a better shot with your local businesses, your local principals and administrators than you do by trying to secure grants every year.
Great, thank you. And just to mention, on a broader level, Food Day did have a call on fundraising for Food Day events, which we'd be happy to share with anyone who's interested in the link. If you email foodday@cspinet.org, we can send you a copy of that call recording. We talked with our Director of Development here at CSPI, who gave recommendations for connecting with local community foundations and other organizations to get funding sort of on a longer-term scale. So that's another resource for people looking for longer-term funding. We have a couple more questions for Rose, and then we'll be nearing the end of the hour here. So Rose, Justin Smith asked if you've heard of Kitchen Community. They're an organization working in Chicago with some funding, it sounds like, available for gardens. Have you heard of them or worked with them?
I have heard of them. Actually, quite recently, I was directed to some of their resources and website. Yes, it's a fantastic organization. We're always looking for partnerships and ways to participate in and be of assistance. So yes, anywhere you can get it. They have been, anytime you get kids cooking and using those skills and building upon what they've got, I really think working in the school garden is pretty foundational. And then by taking it into a food day, or as the farm to school presenter mentioned, anytime you bring in a producer, an actual producer, somebody who's had that real life experience, that takes it from a something school for a student and bumps it all the way to, wow, I could have a career in this. And I think kitchen communities can do the same thing by saying, you know, look at this. This is something we're doing at school, but I see relevance. You know, a student can say, I see relevance for this in the future. So a lot of those things just solidify what we're doing, and Food Day, again, is a part of that.
Excellent. We had a couple other questions. What kind of fruits, vegetables, and flowers do you recommend for kids to grow easily in school gardens? And can you point to people to any specific resources on that?
Yeah, I actually I have a top 10. Maybe what I'll do is, Catherine, is leave that with you, or somehow we can get that information posted. I'm not quite sure how to do that. It's just a list that we kind of keep. Perhaps that's something that I can send out on Facebook. We do have a Facebook account, and I'd be happy to post our top 10. As far as fruits and vegetables that I recommend, I like stuff that can be handled by the kids quite easily, such as cherry tomatoes. I really enjoy sweet baby girls. They have a short growing season. They do well in a variety of climates, and the kids can individually just pop them in their mouth, and things like that tend to go over really well. I also love sunflowers. There are a variety of edible seeds that you can grow. Sunflowers are great. You can do a lot of classroom instruction in a very, very small space with sunflowers. And they have a big effect. They're quite beautiful. They attract a lot of attention to the school garden. Things like that. I also enjoy just the very basic things that kids might not be familiar with, beets or carrots. Like I say, I do have a top 10. I'm very, very happy to make that available, and I'll speak with Catherine afterwards and make sure that that list gets out. But anything that a child can hold in their hands, for very young students, I like things that have big seeds, pumpkins, some different things. However, I think you need to be creative with some of these things. Pumpkins can be massive plants, as many of you know. They can be difficult to grow in a schoolyard, but as I mentioned before, you can grow quite a productive crop of potatoes in a 5-gallon bucket or in a garbage sack even. And so I'm always looking for the most creative way to do that in the spaces and locations that are available.
Okay, great. And finally, do you happen to know of any resources for grants for gardening at nursing homes? That was a question from Mary McCarthy, and or resources for finding grants for other forms of gardens or community gardens, and that might be a little outside the scope of kids gardening.
For community gardens, I would say directly to check out the American Community Gardens Association website, ACGA, I believe they are .org. ACGA, that's quite an acronym, is they actually have quite a few community grants listed for those of you who are specifically interested in developing and maintaining community gardens. They're a great organization. They have fantastic resources on their website. I would definitely suggest checking them out. As far as nursing homes, I guess the one that comes to my mind that NGA is directly involved with would be the Muhammad Ali Association. Their grant is related to peace gardens and developing peaceful gardens that are related to peaceful interactions. And that might be something where it would only work if they were doing some kind of a generational project where those who are involved in a nursing home would have some interaction with the students at a local, whether it was a middle school or upper elementary school, where they would maintain the garden together. And but that might be one option where you could talk about maintaining connections and having generational, talking specifically about those benefits related to socio-emotional interactions between generations. I wouldn't hesitate to take a look specifically at that grant, and I believe that that would directly fall within, but again, you may have to meet some of those. If it was simply a grant utilized only at a nursing home, I'm doubtful that you would qualify, but if there was some kind of conjunction between students and those at the nursing home, it would probably work.
Thank you. Those are really helpful resources, and we'll include those in the follow-up email as well. So hopefully that answered a little bit of the question, and you can check out those resources for grants. We had a couple people mention some other resources on school gardens. Alliance for a Healthier Generation has a school gardens toolkit, and Chelsea from National Farm to School Network said that they have an archived webinar on the topic of gardens in the summer, and that's available on their main website, farmtoschools.org. So thanks for that as well, Chelsea. Barbara wrote in that another good option for volunteer resources during the summer is high school students who need community service hours. So thanks for adding that in as well. If anyone else on the call has questions for Rose or for Chelsea from Farm to School Network, or for Katie from our Nutrition Policy Department on the topic of schools and Food Day in schools, just either type in a question or press the raise hand button to be unmuted. We had a question about where the webinar slides will be posted. And I think what we're going to do is put together all of the slides in a PDF with the permission of the panelists and make a link to that so that people can access it either through our website or through another website, so that people can go back to these slides and get the information. And we will also be sending a link of the recording of this call in the follow-up email, which will go to every person who registered for this webinar. So if you've joined today, we have your email in the system, and you'll get a follow-up, as well as those who registered but did not join the actual webinar today. So any final thoughts from our panelists or questions from the audience? Okay, I think we'll wrap it up here, and we'll be sending around the follow-up email in the next few days. So thanks so much to Chelsea Simpson from National Farm to School Network, Katie Bishop from CSTI, and Rose Judd Murray from the National Gardening Association and Kids Gardening. We really appreciated your presentation, and I'm sure it'll be helpful to a lot of people who are listening out there. Thanks, everyone. We'll end the webinar.